Hello and welcome to episode 10 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast with me, Will Brown. It's episode 10. We've hit the big 1-0. I never thought we'd get here, but in initial discussions in the first couple of episodes, I did say it will start getting good at about episode 10. So, see how we get on with this one. Episode 11 is next week, and because we haven't got a game this weekend, we're not going to discuss kind of what's going on. So we prepared the first in a new series of Aldershot's all-time 11s, where we come together and debate who should go into this starting 11 around a desired topic. The first in the series is lone players we've fallen in love with 11. So that's coming out next Wednesday. It's going live at like 6 a.m. So whenever you wake up on Wednesday, unless you're a binman, I suppose, or a woman. Come together for that. It's quite shoddily put together. And I absolutely love it. I thought it's quite funny. The intro is a take on Chic's Good Time. Good Time? Good Times. So, look forward to that, because if it doesn't get copyright striked, it will be in the charts very soon. So, for this episode, we've got Ian, Joe, and Julian on the panel to discuss Lorent Tolaj, Halifax away, upcoming games. We've got 3 home games in a row, and general National League news. There's a lot's going on, and we're moving position quite often. Next week, we could find ourselves in 9th position or maybe 8th. So we could have moved down 3 places and only played 1 game. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Send in any comments or messages or any ideas for other series to atfcpodcast@gmail.com. Until then, enjoy the show. Right. Welcome to another episode with Lorent Tolaj still at Aldershot. 10 episodes. He scored a very important goal against Halifax in the second episode, I think, a 98th minute winner. And he scored again at Halifax at the weekend to kickstart the turnaround in a 2-1 win. So there was a lot of drama. Well, we don't know if it's complete drama or social media hype. A lot of people were saying he's 100% leaving on deadline day. AFC Wimbledon were sniffing around. They just lost Ali Al-Hamadi to Ipswich. They ended up signing Josh Kelly from Solihull Moors, which could be a blessing in disguise. He scored 15 goals for them this season. And obviously, as we know, he scored 4 and 4 for Aldershot. And after Halifax, that was his 25th league game of the season, league start of the season, 20th goal in all competitions. And that allowed the club to trigger an automatic contract extension to the end of next season, summer of 25. So we're all buzzing about that. So I'm going to come to you first, Julian, as you're first on my screen. What are your thoughts on Lorent Tolaj staying for at least the rest of this season?
Oh well, it's great news, isn't it? I think on deadline day, and I must have lost half a stone. I was worrying. I was looking at Twitter every 2 minutes. Yeah, firstly he had gone to Wimbledon, then he'd gone to Portsmouth, and it was a long day. It would have been nice if the club had actually told us about this contract extension, and then I think I would have been a little bit happier. But no, it's really good news. Excellent news. In fact, it was probably better than the deadline day signing, in my opinion. It just feels like we've got such good momentum. You know, the Kidderminster game seems forever away now, and I know as soon as I say that, I'll probably be shot down in flames, and we'll get another bad result. But it feels like the momentum is really with us, and I think that's largely down to Tolaj. So we're really happy that he's staying.
Brilliant, yeah, and he said in his kind of statement, "I'm happy to stay. I feel like I'm not finished with Aldershot just yet. I'm happy here. I'm really enjoying my football. I'm looking forward to finishing the season strong and to score as many goals as I can to help the team." Love to hear it. So, Joe, I'm going to come to you next. What are your thoughts on Tolaj staying?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely brilliant news for the rest of our season. I think it's pivotal to us probably hopefully making the playoffs. If we do, I think it'll be down to him having stayed. We'll see that it's a collective effort, but I think his goals are going to make the difference. I think we were all really worried looking at Twitter and things. I tell myself all the time that social media is absolute nonsense, but I was sort of there reading every rumour going, I can't believe it, he's gone. And then I think the only person who wasn't worried, I think, was Tommy Widrington all along. I think he's probably been reading all these things, just laughing to himself, knowing that he's had this sort of tucked up his sleeve. And I'm really impressed with our sort of current recruitment policy. Incredibly shrewd. There was 25 games he had to play to start to get his extension, and really sensible. Means if he didn't start loads, he's not going to cost a lot for us to keep him, and if he did start, presumably he's been playing well, which he has, and now we've got him contracted for another year. He probably will go in the summer. I think we're all expecting that, but that'll be for a lot more money than we would have got had he had sort of 5 months left. So yeah, brilliant news. I love him to bits. I think he's probably my favourite ever striker for Aldershot. I know it's only been here 6 months, but I think everything about his game I just love.
We can accept hyperbole for this Swiss guy we've got in. And the other thing I was thinking about, you just mentioned the contract there. What was going on with the captain's armband? That's what I want to know. Was that part of the deal? Who knows? Ian, what are your thoughts on Lorent Tolaj staying?
Yeah, absolute relief. And I was working late on Thursday, so I was able to generally stay off Twitter, and that's kind of a rule that I have for most deadline days, but more to do with the Premier League circus and everything to do with that. So I normally stay away from transfer window business, but the first time that there's a transfer window where Aldershot were involved and there was a concern, I certainly got caught up in the fear and was reading the tweets that said he's definitely going. And had a nervous few hours. And when I saw was it Tommy tweeted about see you all tomorrow or early start or whatever, it was time to go and have a little celebratory drink.
Yeah, I think you just tweeted admin dismissed. See you in the morning kind of thing, which is great.
That was brilliant. That put my mind at rest for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think the next message was see you on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yes. Superb. So yeah, I want to echo everyone else's thoughts on Tolaj. Been unbelievable and generally been one of the main reasons that it's been exciting to go and watch Aldershot again this season. So also on deadline day, we signed James Daly from Harrogate Town on loan to the end of the season. He made 35 appearances for Woking and scored 7 times in the 2022-23 season. They seem to think quite highly of him. And he did come on in the game against Halifax at the weekend. The outgoings we've had were Ollie Bray to Truro City for a month's loan. He came off the bench against Hampton and Richmond at half time, I think, and scored within a minute of coming on. And he got 80 minutes in the midweek game, so a good start for him. And the big one, I suppose, and the one we probably want to talk about maybe, is the end of season loan for Tommy Willard to Farnborough. And as Julian mentioned earlier, not earlier, but to me in an email, his last kind of touch was away at West Brom. So yeah, I guess I'll come to you first, Julian. Your thoughts on those kind of outgoings and the incoming?
Yeah, with Tommy Willard, it's a really interesting call, isn't it? Because I think he's actually played really well. I think he's played really well when he's been on the pitch, and to convert him into the middle, I think it was a bit of a masterstroke from Tommy Witherington. So I was kind of surprised that he was being put out on loan till the end of the season. But then if you look at the strength of our midfield at the moment, you would probably put him at 5th or 6th choice. And I don't see him in our minds as a forward anymore. So if you look at him in that light, then it's probably a fair shout. And he's going to struggle to get back in the side before the end of the season. So it sounds as if he's had an arm around the shoulder and said, look, go and get some game time and perhaps we'll review it again in the summer. But I can't help thinking that assist at the Hawthorns was probably the last thing that he's going to do for Aldershot. I don't know what the other guys think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Also interesting to see what position he tends to play for Farnborough. I don't know because it might be a positional thing where he's going to be tried to be converted into I don't know, a centre attacking mid in Josh Stokes' mould. What are your thoughts on those outgoings and incomings, Joe?
Hopefully I might get a chance to go and see Ollie Bray because it's my neck of the woods. Well, Truro's Cornwall, isn't it? But I don't think Truro are even playing in Truro at the moment. We'll have to check that one out because I think
still Plymouth Parkway.
Yeah, I think they're playing at Plymouth. Yeah, they've moved around there at Torquay at one point. So
of course.
Life as a Truro City fan with lots of away games, they have to go away for their home games as well. So must be a fun one. Anyway, yeah, I'd like to pop along and see him, but I think his was a more obvious loan because he was never really, I don't think, seen as a starter this season. I think he's a long-term plan, probably to perhaps take over the reins of Tolaj next season, depending on how he plays. Willard, I think, from what I gathered from reading around, I think because he wasn't going to be starting, I think he wanted to go out on loan so he could play regularly. I think he probably knows that he might not be a starter next season, so he wants to put himself in the window, or if not, really prove himself to be with us next season. But yeah, I think he wanted to play. So I think that was a bit down to him, judging from what Tommy said. So yeah, just think we will miss him a little bit as an impact sub sometimes because I think it was the game against Stockport, the first leg at the EBB, where I actually think he was one of our strongest players in that tie and made a real difference going forward and contributed us to getting that replay. So yeah, I think we will miss him. But at the moment, who do you drop from our midfield?
Very true. Very true. I suppose we are always probably one injury away from needing a Willard. So I wonder if there's a recall kind of feature in that loan deal. And I'll come to you as well, Ian. What are your thoughts on Willard, Bray, and Daly?
Yeah, the Daly one was the one that obviously got everyone alarmed because we were like, another attacker. Wow, that's definitely got to be in anticipation of somebody leaving. So that was a little bit of a surprise that coming in. Maybe there was some truth in how serious the offers were from Wimbledon, Portsmouth, etc. And that was done as a contingency. Yeah, Bray, I remember, I think it was Julian when Bray signed, did suggest that he'd go to National League South on loan. It didn't happen initially, but it's ended up that happening. And then maybe, yeah, there's an element of convenience with it in terms of location as well. But we look forward to seeing him back at some stage, and I think Joe's absolutely right that that's a long-term project. And my theory also at the time was that he was more signed because we'd identified him and wanted to get in there before someone else did. Yeah, Willard, he had time out on loan at Farnborough last season, didn't he? And everyone thought that would be the end of him then. But he came back this season. Opportunities limited due to the success of the forward line. But yeah, I liked him in a defensive midfielder role when he has played this season. The Stockport game would be the best example. So yeah, I'm okay with him going out on loan. I can see why, because there's obviously been suggestions by some people that we've loaned out the wrong midfielder. People sort of suggesting that perhaps it should have been Theo going out on loan, but I think on this one I'm trusting in Tommy, and hopefully Willard impresses at Worthing. He got his goal on Saturday, and it means that next year, I guess a lot of it all depends on the comings and goings at Aldershot, that if we're still in the National League next season and some of the players move on to better things, then I think we'd want to have first option on Tommy. But if we do find ourselves in League Two, then he probably wants to be looking at himself at a National League or National League South club.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think for Willard, I was slightly miffed when he was absent from the team after those performances. Well, after the West Brom game, really. I don't know if there was an injury or something, or sickness was going around. I don't know. There was something, but I'm happy to see him playing games. I'd be interested to see if anyone can tell me or knows what position he will be playing in most times. So that's the deadline day stuff covered. We're going to move on to the small matter of Aldershot beating Halifax away at the weekend in a 2-1 win, 1-0 down. Seemingly as per it felt kind of natural for Halifax to be 1 up, and always felt that we were in the game enough to turn it around. Tolaj and Thomas with the goals. Kwame Thomas 2 goals in a week. Glover with three assists in 2 games, 2 at Wimbledon and 1 at Halifax. And yes, Stokes' ball for Thomas is one thing that I've got written down here. He's just superb. The turn and just put it on a plate for Kwame's left foot. I think that's the first goal he scored with his feet, if I'm right. I just want to shout out Kwame Thomas because he was brilliant at Wimbledon when he came on to get that goal, and I just think he's turning into a bit of a cult hero. I'm going to come to you first, Ian. Switch it around. What are your thoughts on that Halifax game and the importance to our season and our standing right now?
Yeah, that was a brilliant win. I think last week we'll all be happy with a point. So to get 2 extra on top is a great bonus, and it put us up to 5th on Saturday night, which is the highest we've been this season and highest we've been for 6 years. So that was a great feeling on Saturday night, to be in that lofty position, but also feel like, we deserve it. Slow start in terms of Halifax, but after half time, whether it was the team talk, made the difference. But that was some really, really good goals. And the Stokes ball for Thomas to score was exceptional. And although he's not been in the goal since his move to Bristol City, he's still making plenty of positive contributions. So absolutely delighted with 3 points on Saturday.
Nice. And come to you, Joe. What are your thoughts on that win?
Yeah, it was quite an entertaining game actually, and very different to the Wimbledon game. I think partly because the pitch played quite differently. But one thing I did note was we went 1-0 down, and I went, "We're going to win this game," rather than I just felt more comfortable being 1-0 down to win the game than when we were 2-0 up a couple of weeks ago at Kidderminster. It's a strange feeling watching Aldershot being 1-0 down, especially after the last few years where going a goal down, we thought we'd not got a hope in hell of ever getting a result. So that was great. It was nice to see us come out after half time and sort of finish the game off. I thought Ryan Glover was superb. He's a real revelation at the moment. He just does not stop running, and he sort of seems to have got rid of the cramp problem that he had every game after about 60 minutes in the last couple of seasons. So presumably improved fitness levels. I wrote down that I thought Menayese had a much more solid game. I think he was understandably off the pace against Wealdstone. Probably hasn't started a game for a while, having come back from injury. And I thought he put some really good, solid challenges in and looked a lot more comfortable with the defenders around him, which is, comes with time and more minutes. The cross from Stokes, you've all said it, but it was sort of, I wrote down De Bruyne-esque, sort of just went round the defenders. And then credit to Kwame, though. It's on a plate, but he's still got to put it past the keeper. Great goal. Just we don't score goals like that, so it was just a pleasure to watch. Geordie, he made a really good save at the end. We're always quick. He's on the end of a lot of criticism a lot of the time, sometimes justified, but we have to call him out when he, does effectively at the end of the game there. win us the points. It's as good as a goal, that save he's made. Yeah, great result. I thought Halifax were quite industrious, but you can sort of see why they haven't scored loads. They sort of got themselves into the final third quite a lot and then ran out of ideas. And I think they lost again this week. And having not lost at home much this season, they've lost twice in a week. And they might be one of those teams that are in and around the playoffs that drop off. Hopefully for us, they do. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result. Away wins haven't been that frequent, but we actually saw the game out really comfortably, which we haven't done. So yeah, testament to the team and testament to the bounce back ability. I hate that phrase, but it is true for us at the moment.
Yeah, definitely going on that last 5 minutes. I didn't worry once. I felt very confident we were going to see this one out. And Julian, come to you. What are your thoughts on the win?
Yeah, I thought it was pound for pound probably our best away victory of the season. Just when we really needed a good 3 points, we went and got it. And 100% agree with what Joe was saying. It was it didn't worry me as much going 1-0 down. I always felt there was an option at half time to change things around. It was really interesting listening to the Halifax guys, the manager and the players on their thoughts of the game, and they were all saying that it was 2 soft goals, but from a shots point of view, I did not see 2 soft goals. I saw the first goal was well worked. Tyler Frost got the ball in the middle of the park, found some space, and that's a superb slide ball pass through to Glover. Glover did what he needed to do, and Lorent Tolaj was on the end of it. I thought that was a fantastic goal. And then to say that Josh Stokes' vision, skill, turn is a soft goal to concede. That had championship written all over it. He had 2 people on him, turns, didn't even look up. He just sent this ball over. And again, as Joe said, Kwame Thomas to volley that inside footed. Yeah, I was half expecting it to end up in Halifax town centre, to be honest. But it was amazing. It was superb, and yeah, felt really comfortable too. Really comfortable victory. And again, what Joe said, I totally agree with. I think Halifax are going to be one of those teams that do drop away now. I think they've lost 3 in a row. So, and with no real goal scorer there either. So I just can't see them making up the points. So, and we'll get onto it a little bit later about sort of playoffs, but it's really good news to seeing your Halifaxes and your Eastleys starting to fall away. It's all good for us.
Absolutely.
Just think on Halifax. Sorry,
Okay,
I think on Halifax there that the home fixture, they had one of their attackers, was it Milnik Ali? He absolutely tore us to shreds that day, and they've just lost him to up the road from me actually. So he's gone to Exeter in League One. So I think he was a massive miss because I think he was their sort of linked to their front line and was a source of a lot of their goals. And I don't really think they've got the finances to replace someone like him at this stage of the season. So as a Halifax fan, I think they'll probably be gutted. It's probably the equivalent of us losing one of our front 3 for their season, really.
Yeah, definitely. He was a terror in that home game. He was terrifying to watch them counter with him was like, especially at 0-0 that whole time. Gosh. So I was very glad he was gone. You said something, Julian. I was going to say that they're kind of saying they were soft goals. I do think, I don't know how they've left Kwame Thomas in that much space, but defensively, that's a shoddy bit of marking because he is in so much space. But for Stokes to find him anyway it's by the by, isn't it? Great. So that leaves us with a 10-day gap until our next game from that game. Now, as we record, it's a little under 5, 6 as we're recording, 5 when you hear this. Then we've got 3 home games in a row. So we've got AFC Fylde. They've won 4 out of their last 5. They lost last night. So that put them back into the bottom 4. They did go above Woking for a split second. And then we've moved on to the live on TNT Sports game against Altrincham at the weekend, which is 5:30 kickoff. They're currently above us in 4th. And then we move on to the Barnet game on a Tuesday night. So 2 Tuesday night home games. They're currently sitting in second and will probably stay around there, depending on if them or Bromley have a little fight for that. So yeah, the next normal pod will be after that Barnet game. So can I get your thoughts on the next 3 home games? And can we finally turn our -1 goal difference into something positive? I'll come to you first, Julian.
Yeah, 3 really important home games to come. There's no mistaking the fact that our home form has been light years away from what it was last season. 2 defeats, both of those defeats, I think, were a bit unusual. The Chesterfield game could have gone either way, and I think the Eastleigh result was just one of those days. So really good home form. I guess I'm being a little bit greedy, but I would be looking for 2 wins and a draw. And I think if we can beat Altrincham live on the TV, that's going to set us up really nicely for the run-in. I was really pleased, actually, in a weird sort of way, to see the Altrincham game postponed last night, because if they had got a result then and then got a result on Saturday, then suddenly they're just 7 points away from us, and it sounds a lot of points to be catching up, even though we've got them in the live game. So really pleased to see lots of rain in Manchester at the moment, and let's hope it carries on for Saturday and they get that game called off as well, and then we can have 4th place all to ourselves. But feeling confident. I think all 3 are winnable. You never quite know what Barnet are going to do. They could play some superb football, or we could beat them. So really excited to have these 3 home games. Be interesting to see whether the supporters choose any 2 out of 3 to go to, or whether we can get some really good gates for all 3. I'm not sure that will happen. It could well resemble a bit of the Bromley and Rochdale scenario. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, really excited for the next 3 games. And again, we're going to be guaranteed playoff position for, I think, at least probably a couple of weeks still. So it's all good in my eyes.
Yeah, lovely stuff. It does. I suppose after a normal 10-day break and then a home game, you would expect a kind of a bumper crowd, I suppose. But with it being filed at home, it doesn't really scream, I want to go to that game. And then I was just going to mention on the TNT selection for Aldershot against Altrincham. I mean, I don't agree with it being 5:30 because I'm not sure how Altrincham fans are going to get home. But in terms of picking a game that should be on TV, Aldershot against Altrincham, the last couple of this season for us, and Altrincham the last couple of seasons have been very easy on the eye. So should be a good game. Come to you next, Joe. What are your thoughts on next upcoming games?
I'm actually quite apprehensive about the Fylde game. They've massively picked up their form. They've beaten Dorking. They've beaten Bromley at home 1-0. That is, well, not many teams have beaten Bromley this season, so that's really quite an impressive result. They've beaten a few teams in and around the playoffs. I think they've beaten Hartlepool, Rochdale. They've really not lost much in their last 7 or 8 games. It's going to be a lot tougher than when we went up to their place earlier in the season, which actually we turned them over quite easily. One of the most comfortable away games we've had this season, really. So I'm quite apprehensive about that one. Don't think we should underestimate them. Not saying that we will, but I just think we need to be really wary. Altrincham, I've got a good friend who's an Altrincham fan. He's absolutely loving this season. Don't think they've ever been to the Football League, as far as I'm aware. Someone could correct me on that, but I don't think they have. So it's sort of the highest they've ever been, really. They've got a really, really exciting style. They think they've kept hold of Chris Clark, who is their sort of lethal player going forward. There was a lot of rumours that he was going to go. So that for them, much like us with Tolaj, might be their key to them getting into the playoffs. It'll be an entertaining game, as you say. 2 teams that want to play football. I don't think it'll be goalless. the Barnet game, Barnet are having not a blip, but they've just been in and around there all season, really, haven't they? Probably they know they're not going to break Chesterfield. No one is. So it's just they have to sort of maintain their level so that they don't drop out of the playoffs. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of game that is. But 3 home games. If we can get 5 points out of 9 from there, I think that'd be a really good return, really.
Yeah, great. Sorry, I was just having a look at Altrincham. They were crowned champions of the top of the non-league twice, and weren't voted in both times. So they received 25 votes to Rochdale's 26 the first time, and then they failed by 15 votes to 41 by Halifax. Halifax, who are the lowest ranked Football League club. So they've had a bit of bad luck, apparently. There was apparently a mix-up with some of the voting as well. So, go and research that in your own time. Ian, what are your thoughts on the next 3 home games?
Yeah, I'd love 7 points out of 9, but I'd actually be okay with 5 or 6, depending on how things fall. I think, Joe's right to be apprehensive about the visit of Fylde. They've picked up, and the National League is a funny league this year in that there's not that much between teams at the bottom. Normally you have 24th, 23rd, 22nd sometimes tailed off and search for relegation, whereas this year you've probably got Oxford City look very likely to go down, but everyone else is in a real dogfight. So Fylde could easily come to the Wreck and go home with 3 points, and their single figure away fans going absolutely crazy. So we've got to be on it for Fylde. The Altrincham game, quite excited about that one, and it's good to be on TV. And it feels like it's not just TNT fulfilling their contractual obligation of having to feature us at least once, that we're on because it's been picked out as, that could be a good matchup. It's up against Manchester City, against Chelsea on Sky at the same window. So don't know what that would do to both viewing figures and the actual match attendance. And then Barnet, that was one of the earlier games in the season, the game at the Hive, where I was quite pleased with Aldershot on that particular night, where we went 2-0 behind, but did find some fight to get it back to 2-1. And that was where I thought, maybe we'll do something this season. Maybe we'll be okay. So be very interested to see how both teams play on the rematch. I've watched Barnet because Barnet have been on the TV a bit themselves and don't look that good when I've seen them on the TV, but they're in second place, and they've got good manager, decent players. So looking forward to all the games, but for different reasons. And I think it's fair to say that, people, if they can only make a couple, maybe Fylde's perhaps the one they'll miss. Gut feel.
Yeah, you'd think so. It'd also be good because it's our second time on TNT Sports this season. Obviously, we had the East League.
First didn't go very well. So.
Not great. So we've maybe that's why we've
improved a lot since then.
We have, definitely. Great. Well, we'll park it there. The home game treble coming up soon. Okay, and now we'll move on to any other business, which, as we aren't playing this week and we didn't play in the midweek, it's just kind of catch up on the National League and how it looks. You can remember the top 3. That is Chesterfield, who have hit 80 points after just 31 games. I don't know how many home games they've won in a row now, but it's in the 20s. And they look likely to win the league by March, I reckon, or the middle of March, I think. I tried to work it out. They're still on course to break Wrexham's record from last year. So forget about them. We've played them twice. They can hopefully take points off everyone else. The only problem with that is I think they might be playing teams after they've already won the league, which could be annoying if they start resting players or not going for that, all gung ho. So we can forget about the top 2 and 3, Bromley and Barnet, probably for the moment. They're on 58 and 56. And then we've got the playoffs, which, as it stands after the midweek results, Solihull, who beat Halifax, as Joe mentioned earlier, are on 50 points in 4th. Altrincham, 2 games in hand on Solihull, with 1 point behind. And then Aldershot in 6th, 48 points. That famous -1 goal difference still going strong. We've played 31. So everyone behind us, which is Gateshead, Oldham, and Rochdale, have a game on us. So yeah, that's mainly just Gateshead and Oldham behind us that look likely to nab that final spot. So yeah, let's discuss how the playoff pitch is looking after this midweek and the weekend's results. Ian, I'll come to you first. How are you feeling about the top of the league?
Yeah, I mean, last week, I think you asked the question of, was it more 16, 17, 17, 18? It's definitely 16, 17, where we're hopefully going to get in the playoffs and we'll get into them playing some good stuff. And I think ideally, yeah, we need to try and be 4th or 5th for that slightly easier route. However, if there's a side that would suit playing 2 away games to get themselves through to Wembley, then it could well be Aldershot. Still work to do till we can talk about it as a certainty, but I think since we've been doing this podcast and coming on, most weeks I've felt positive that we will make them. It was only that after the Bishop Stortford and the Kidderminster games that the belief wavered a little bit. But on the whole, I think the business that's been done in January, the comings in, and more importantly, the not goings out, makes me believe that we will be there. And 3 home games, as we've talked about, is a good opportunity to try and cement that position and start to put a bit of daylight between wherever we are and 8th place.
Yeah, great. And come to you next, Julian. What are your thoughts on the kind of top half and our playoff chances?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier on. It's really good to see teams dropping away, and I think Halifax have lost it a little bit, and I think Eastleigh perhaps that they've got a bit too much to do. So I'm agreeing with Ian on this one too. I think it's going to be 7 from 8. So if you're looking at those 8 teams, then it's really down to who's got the momentum, going into the final part of the season. And again, Ian mentioned it already. There's a interesting transfer window just gone through. We've come out of it in a positive. Solihull have come out of it probably in a negative. They've lost Josh Kelly, and that sounds like that's going to be a hard one. Although they did have no problems putting Halifax away in the week, but I still think they're going to miss Josh Kelly. And Gateshead have lost 1 or 2 players as well. So Oldham, I think they've signed another striker who's got goals in him. One of the guys, I think Kurt Willoughby's gone off to Ayr United on loan. So you can think of Oldham as perhaps one of those. So yeah, I'm feeling confident. As Ian said, we've been through this now. We're in the 10th episode, and I've not really felt unconfident that we can get there. And then once we get there, ideally, 4th or 5th would be great. It gives us that first home tie. And if it is Bromley or Barnet in the semi-final, again, there's a great chance that if we're away to them, that we could do something there. So then we're at Wembley, and then we're up, and it's as easy as that.
See, all it needed was a podcast to start, and we'd hit momentum. Yeah, you were saying with Bromley and Barnet. I know Joe said this earlier, so I'll lead into you to asking you. But Bromley haven't won in 5 in the league. Barnet have only won 1 in 5. So that gap has substantially dropped off from where it was, where it felt like they're pretty much certainties to be 2nd and 3rd. So Solihull could maybe bridge that gap, and even us, to be honest. There's plenty of games left. Joe, how are you feeling about the playoffs and the top of the league?
But it's interesting there, you're talking about Bromley and Barnet and sort of how they've dropped off a little bit. You end up with this unique situation in the National League compared to the sort of four divisions above us, where you've got a team who are top, who are pretty much guaranteed to go up, and the teams in second and third. You look at Bromley and Barnet, who've had very, very good seasons. They're just part of the rest. And it's quite a strange one to look at. From a Bromley and Barnet perspective, they've been occupying those positions pretty much all season. The motivation for them at the moment, obviously, they want to go up, but they're almost going to feel like they've got to just do enough. And I think the mindset for them is going to be quite interesting to see how they sort of go, because Bromley have, like you say, have dropped off a little bit. Barnet have kind of I'm talking the last couple of games. It's not a major blip, but is that a sign of a slight slip off? If we look at second all the way down to eighth, I have no idea what the order will be, because I'm not sure who's going to drop off, who's going to sort of keep their form. That could be. I honestly think that could be any order. I wouldn't be surprised if come the end of the season, Bromley were in seventh and Altrincham were in second. I honestly wouldn't, because this league is balmy and the playoffs are a total lottery. I am worried about Oldham, to be honest with you, just because of the strength in depth in that squad. Outside of Chesterfield, they probably got the most expensive squad with some of the sort of most Football League pedigree and experience. You look at the likes of Altrincham and Aldershot, they're much younger teams. Much less proven, but again, that could work in our benefit because we are fearless. So, for risk of this podcast aging badly, I'm going to say I'm not fully confident. Just to add some balance, it pains me to say it, but I think we could end up missing out on goal difference in eighth. I'm just going to say it because our goal difference has been an issue all season, and I think, because we always talk about it, shipping goals, if we're going to miss out, I feel like it's going to be really painful because it's Aldershot. I've got to provide balance,
That is balance and a half, that.
Yeah, it's a fair point you make. It's nothing too controversial you're saying there at all. It's a very fair point.
It's been a thing of all season, isn't it? And it just means that we have to get an extra point at the end of the day. But it could be, as you said, Joe, it could be the difference between seventh and eighth. So who knows? Better do something about the goal difference in the last 15 games.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that does provide me with confidence is I was just having a look earlier at our results against teams in and around the playoffs, and they've actually been pretty good. You look at our results against Bromley. We lost against Barnet, but we didn't play badly. We had a cracking result away at Solihull. I think one of our best defensive performances of the season, where we sort of snatched a goal on the break and just saw the game out. And that was away from home. Altrincham, we went up there, lost narrowly, I think, and again gave them a really good game. And we've done all right against Gateshead. Oldham, move on.
Yeah, it does. I was just having a look at the kind of fixtures coming up as well. The rest of the season, obviously, we've done Chesterfield and Bromley. That's the top two done, and then home games against third and fourth to come. A home game against fifth, and then obviously we've got a away game against Gateshead and a home game against Oldham. But it does seem to be that top eight, as Julian said, will probably be the makeup of it, unless there's something remarkable. But I look at those teams below them. I mean, Maidenhead have won 2 out of the last 3. Hartlepool have won 2 in a row, but you've got to string 5 or 6 good results to get anywhere near the top 8 now. Cool. So we can forget about the mid-section of the league. They're all nothing clubs. Maidenhead, Eastleigh, Wildstone, Dagred, Boreham Wood. Rubbish. Absolute. Get rid of it. So, I thought we'd just discuss the kind of the relegation battle, because at the weekend, Woking were in the bottom 4 again due to, as I said earlier, Fylde have now won 4 out of 5 games. Kidderminster have won 4 in a row since Phil Brown this has arrived. We were obviously his first scalp. I guess our thoughts on who might go down. Is it is it as low as Southend? Do we think Southend are definitely safe, and could York go down? I'll come to you first, Ian.
I think York could go down, yes. I think Southend will be okay. But yeah, this is the sort of year where someone will drop from what might seem a relatively comfortable position where they think, oh, they've only got to win like 4 more games and they'll be fine. And then they suddenly manage to only win 2 of the last 15 or something like that. So there's every opportunity for that. As I mentioned earlier, I think Oxford City probably the one not to get out of it, but it could well be on the last day of the season that the team 23rd, 22nd, 21st all find themselves safe. That was a massive win for Woking last night, wasn't it? Beating Oxford. They really, really needed that one. It put them safe again. So yeah, it's really hard to call. It's quite interesting, and it's really good not to be there worrying about it, because unfortunately we've had far too many seasons of the past 10 with nervous times at this point in the season. So yeah, I couldn't tell you who's going to go down with any certainty, but yeah, there'd be quite a lot of clubs, and you could even have some scenarios where I think most teams down there have changed their manager at least once, haven't they? And there might even be a few that tried to change it twice, much as Aldershot did last season, where we had three managers in the season. And it was making me wonder, actually, with Woking, whether they would end up being one of those clubs. But maybe Michael Doyle, with that Oxford results, bought himself some time, because they didn't have any sort of upturn really after his appointment. You know, one of their best results since he came along was the 0-0 with us on Boxing Day. So yeah, you would never fear for Woking. It wouldn't be right. But yeah, they do look vulnerable based on their recent form. But maybe that win last night is just enough, or maybe it's just one of those that's papering over the cracks.
Yeah. Lewis Walker scored a penalty last night for Woking. So they beat Oxford City 2-0. Oxford City had 2 massive games, really. If they were going to stay up, they had Kidderminster at the weekend and were 2-0 up against Kidderminster. We've all been there, haven't we? And Kidderminster turned it around to win 3-2. Mario Morgan-Smith again scoring. So they won 4 in a row. If Fylde win their game in hand, which is not next week, but will be a game at some point, they will be above Woking. So I think they're still in trouble. The other team we haven't mentioned is Ebbsfleet, who have a certain Danny Searle in the dugout as an interim manager. He was kind of, any kind of viral image that you've seen of Jordan Ibe coming off the bench has young Danny Searle in it. So, fair play. I didn't see that coming, if I'm honest. Julian, how do you see the relegation battle in the National League?
Yeah, I agree with Ian. Again, it's a really interesting, last couple of months. If you look at the table, potentially anyone from 12th could get sucked in, whereas you couldn't have said that in the last few seasons. As Ian pointed out before, you'd normally by now you would have had 2 or even 3 teams that were pretty much done and dusted. But I always think this time of season, you tend to get 1 or 2 teams that, again, throw in some truly awful performances and might only win 1 or 2 more games. And just out of the bottom half, I'm looking at perhaps Boreham Wood or even Dorking possibly could be sucked in quite easily. So it all depends really on if Kidderminster can maintain the form. I think Woking will survive. I think they've just got too many good players to carry on playing as badly as they have been. Fylde again are on a good run. And the same thing happened last season. I remember Gateshead and Torquay being completely out of it, miles away from anybody else. And Gateshead went on this unbelievable run. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. So I got to agree with Ian again. It's just too hard to call, but my money could be on a Boreham Wood or a Dorking being sucked in quite soon.
Yeah, there does always seem to be one team that gets dragged into the mire that you don't really think. And yeah, there's a couple of teams around there. Dag Red. I mean, I know if you've got any F Young, I don't think you're going to be relegated from this league. And Willstone got loads of games in hand, but there's some signs there. And Joe, we'll come to you finally. Yeah, how do you see that bottom four? It's currently made up of the all the promoted teams again, which is nice, fun symmetry. Sorry, now I'll come to you.
I think Julian made a good point there about Boreham Wood. I think they might be a team. I'm just looking at their recent results. They're not losing loads, but they're not winning much at all. And draws at this stage can suck you in quite a lot, especially if teams below you are winning. They're just gaining ground on you. So, and I'd love to see Boreham Wood go down. I don't have anything sort of personally against them. I just don't really enjoy their presence in the National League. I don't think they'll add anything. I don't think if they voluntarily left, no one would really notice. So yeah, they're just a team that I don't. Yeah. Okay. So I feel really mean now, but
no,
sorry for it.
It's a horrible place to go to. Always charged us too much. Before it was fashionable to charge 24 quid to get in, I'm sure they were doing it. So they can go down.
I'm very sorry to the Boreham Wood fan.
The other thing,
good.
without interrupting too much, I just looked at the table where we've talked about Aldershot's goal difference. The goal differences that are in the worst state are Dorking and Boreham Wood.
Yeah.
Whereas Woking's is only -8, for example. That if that's worth a point, then Dorking and Boreham Wood are potentially vulnerable on that basis. And obviously Southend, with their points deduction, they've got a positive goal difference. So that's another reason why I feel they might be okay.
Just talking about Southend there, I cannot believe the latest betting that they're still above Aldershot for potentially top 7 and promotion. I don't know who's putting the money on Southend, but unbelievable.
Which firms is that with? Is the
Essex bet, isn't it?
The Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, no, I think it's with Odds Checker. They were certainly showing earlier on this week as being a good popular bet. So yeah, I really can't see Southend making up. What is it? 14 points behind us now. So can't see that happening with the Super Lorent Tolaj in free flow.
I've got a good friend who's a York fan, and he is really uncomfortable at the moment. You look at the start of the season, some of the money they were splashing around, and to think they're 18th, 2 points above the relegation zone. When Cordner went, we sort of went, he's gone to a team that are splashing around the money. You can't really blame him for that. He'll probably end up above us at the end of the season, and the positions are totally reversed to where we may have guessed they would have been. I think it's actually probably one of the most underperforming teams in the league based on the start of the season and the squads they sort of got together. A lot of that's down, I think, to the wrong manager at the start of the season. Sort of they had him as an interim, not really a proven manager. And then when he had to build a squad, didn't really know what to do with it once he'd done that. And then the name of their manager's left my head. Neil Ardley, is that correct? Yes, Neil Ardley. Yeah, he's not really getting the many wins. A lot of draws, but as I said a minute ago, draws aren't going to be enough to keep you up. So yeah, if they drop down, having worked their way back into the National League, it would be a bit of a travesty, really.
Yeah, so they've only won 7 games this season. They narrowly beat Oxford City away, and they drew away at Boreham Wood. So I mean, they are deep in that battle, I think, to go down. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how things look. The next time we're together, it could all look different. York could be feasibly 23rd, and Woking could be on the verge of being looking at a top 8 finish, according to Essex Bet. Yeah, we'll probably end it there. To be fair, I think that's enough chatting about the National League. we'll see how the week's looking and whether we can get
It's my
together.
stag do this weekend, so give me a couple of days to recover.
Your stag do? Oh, congratulations.
Where are you going?
Bristol, no idea what I'm doing. Stay away.
I'm in
Sounds
Norwich,
dangerous.
so I'm as far away as possible.
Yeah, so yeah. Don't record it on Sunday morning because you'll get some content you didn't sign up for.
Yeah, can you record something on the dance floor, please?
It's just tribute to Lorent Tolaj.
Nice
Be
one, right.
talking
Thanks for
to
coming.
every Bristol City fan you meet about how good
yeah.
Josh Stokes.
Yeah, you wait till you see this boy, I tell you.